listening. I'm sure all our followers are super cool. I'm sure they
I
all
hope so.
I
think so.
The hate comments are coming in droves.
I feel like we've talked about enough things where we would weed out the wackos, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Probably.
Right?
Probably. I don't know. If you're a wacko, comment down below.
Well, let's see.
If you're still listening.
If you're a racist, if you support genocide, if you're homophobic, if you're transphobic, jinx, if you hate women, if you're a misogynist, don't follow us.
And if you're not
Genuinely
funny.
I don't know. I guess that's a hot take, bro. I guess that's a hot take. I guess that's a hot
You're
take.
not welcome here.
Yeah, you're not welcome here.
That
is
you
not
may be
cool.
welcome to in other.
That is
That's so everything's cool
except that. Yeah, everything's cool except that.
That's so good. What's up, guys? Welcome back to school, but don't worry, everything is cool. Wait a minute, it's not Julie doing the intro. It's your boy, Steve. Julie's on a vacation. Brandon was gone last week. Now it's just me and Brandon. Say what's up, Brandon.
Hey, what's up, guys? Glad to be back. I hope everybody missed me.
I missed you, bro. I missed you. I don't know if you saw last week's episode. We had a 20-minute session where we were just crying about you.
I did. I edited the episodes. I have to watch them.
Liar. Oh, wait, never mind. I was about to expose you.
What were you going to say?
I was going to be like, I know you use that AI tool.
No.
I know you don't do it manually. I know AI helps you.
I have to, because remember you had me add in the
outro?
No. What do you call it?
The image? The map?
Yeah, the map. That was funny. I hope you guys enjoyed that Easter egg if you watched.
Yeah, we don't always put visuals, but that one we put in there.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, that one's so good. But we're gonna go ahead and get right into this episode. It's last time was brother sister, now it's brother and brother.
Yeah,
my brother from another mother.
Yeah,
right.
Yes, I've known Steve probably about just as long as Julie.
Everybody knows that at this point. At this point, we always talk about that.
How old are you in kindergarten?
I was 5.
I was probably around 4 or 5. Yeah.
So we've known
20 years almost.
Yeah. We would have graduated this time if we were born in the future.
Yeah.
But anyways, so the first thing I want to get into is Brandon, where were you?
Okay, so I took a little trip. Let's just say it was on family business, but it was all good. It was like a good thing. It's supposed to be a fun thing. And so I went to the great state of Utah for how long was I gone? Like 4 days?
Yeah, you're gone for a while.
Yeah, I was gone for a while. But yeah, it's really pretty, obviously. I mean, Zion's over there. There's a lot of cool natural attractions, a lot of cool landscapes, a lot of really pretty stuff. So I really enjoyed a lot of that. But yeah. Well, I mentioned to you that. Okay, well,
guys, something happened.
How do I unpack this?
Something happened to him while he was there. He, for the first time in his life, he realized that he is not white passing.
I guess so. I guess not around there, right?
Tell your story, bro.
Let me tell you. I'll tell you my truth. Okay, so what happened? So let me paint a picture, kind of. So me and my girlfriend got there. It was me and her who went, and we get there, and it had just snowed, I think, because there was snow like melting on like tables, and you could see very clearly on the mountains. It's like the mountains right here, like pretty close. Like it's really close. And so you could see it had just snowed. So me and her, we were bundled up because it was really cold. But you can see, I guess everybody over there is really like, what's the word, climatized, because people were wearing shorts and like tank tops and stuff like that. And I'm not exaggerating for the story. They genuinely were, which is, I mean, fine, I don't care. But that's one of the ways you could tell we stuck out. Was like, you know, oh, these people are not from around here.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I guess that was just funny at first.
It was just silly, goofy time.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess too, it wasn't something we weren't thinking about. Like we were thinking about, you know, our safety and all that kind of stuff. But where the area we were at, it's right next to a Native American reservation, and that doesn't necessarily. I'm not saying that necessarily means or absolves anybody, and I assume that everybody over there is cool because of that. I just, in my mind, thought that people were accustomed to seeing people of color over there because it's like right there. So that's why I was kind of like, well, it shouldn't be too big of a deal, right? Because you obviously know my girlfriend, right? She presents a lot more of a POC than I do. So that's kind of the thing we were obviously, you know, thinking about at first. But I don't know. I mean, people give you double takes kind of, but it wasn't I don't know. It didn't feel like hostile at first. You know what I'm saying?
It wasn't ringing any like alarms.
I guess I just thought it was more like, these fools are out of town. Like, look at how bundled up they are. Because I had a beanie on, a thick Carhartt jacket, like boots and everything. So I was really, it was cold, you know? So I think like the second day that we were there, we went to go to this like attraction, right? They're dinosaur tracks. And nobody was there. Like, nobody. And I know people are like, oh, no, genuinely nobody was there. It was just me, my girlfriend, for maybe like 40 minutes of desert.
Damn.
Like, you know, like it was
spooky.
I mean, it wasn't even spooky. It was like, cause it was bright. It was like the middle of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But the nearest town was about, I think like a 45-minute drive away where we were staying. And another thing to preface is 45 minutes in LA versus 45 minutes there is drastically different. You probably know because you go to Mexico and like there's obviously a lot of open roads where it's like 45 minutes here is like sometimes from my house to like downtown. And it's not because it's like super far. I mean, it's not right across the street, but it's more because of traffic. It's not because it's like 60 miles away or anything like that. It's the opposite over there. It's 45 minutes driving 80 miles an hour in the middle of the desert. So you're far, you know, you're in the middle of nowhere. So we get there and it's just me, my girlfriend, and this other family. I'm assuming they were a family. They were together. There was 3 people. It was a man, I assume his wife, just the way they were interacting, and this other man. All of them around the same age, maybe late 50s, early 60s, gray hair, but they weren't like old, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But they were dressed kind of the same in the sense of like they had just shorts on and they also had just T-shirts on. But you could tell they were from around at least the Midwestern area. And it was the opposite with me and my girlfriend. We were bundled up because the area was even colder because there's a lot of wind. 1 second.
It's okay.
No.
I'm
getting really emotional. No, so we get there, right? And like I said, there's nobody but us. And there's nobody but us for miles. And again, you know, there was no alarms raised yet. You know, we were kind of like, everybody's like chilling, like nothing other than like a double glance from everybody. But again, I'm assuming that it's mostly because we look like we're from out of town, right? So we get there and there's this sign about the dinosaur tracks. You know how like in public parks they'll have like, you know, like explaining. And so the sign is talking about how the dinosaur tracks get vandalized a lot. Like people try to take them and because it's not like, it's hard to explain. It's not so much that they're in the ground, they're raised up out of the ground. So it looks like a rock, but in the shape of a dinosaur footprint. But now they're kind of harder to find because people vandalize them, so they're a little harder to see. So it's not so much that everybody's like doing their own thing. We're all kind of like looking for them too. So me and my girlfriend, we find a couple, and then we run into the guy's wife first. And she's like, oh, this, and that. Like, do you see them? And we're like, yeah, like, we read the sign. Like, you know, people vandalize them, so you got to, like, look for them, this, and that. Nothing crazy. Like, literally nothing. But, again, because of that interaction, I'm like, I mean, they're chill, right? They're just talking to us. So, it's like this side of a mountain. So we're kind of hiking up the side of the mountain, kind of looking for them. It's like this little area. Maybe 100 feet by 100 feet. Maybe like a football field. Half a football field at least. Not a crazy hike, but not like, I don't know how to explain it. So we kind of get to the top, and the 2 guys that were there kind of are yelling towards us, not in a hostile way, but saying like, oh, there's more over here, like kind of trying to help us out. So again, like that kind of gives at least me the like, oh, I mean, I guess they're cool, you know, they're trying to be nice or whatever. So he says something like, he said something like, oh, they're like right here. They're like between you and me. Like,
yeah, he's like helping you out, right?
Yeah. And I kind of just say thank you because we were already looking at one already. And yeah, we kind of, me and my girlfriend, we kind of like go back about our business and we're just talking like, you know, just about it, you know, whatever. And then I hear them again like, oh, like we've actually found, like, you know, they're continuing the conversation, which again, nothing bad, but It wasn't the guy who was married. It was their like friend. I don't know if it was his brother or family friend, whatever.
Their polyamory relationship.
Sure. They're third.
Their third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says something like, "Oh yeah, like you can really see them like if you're on this ledge." And I'm like, "All right, bro, like thank you, you know." And then
This ledge, like,
it's just hard to explain. It's just a bunch of rocks.
Mhm.
Like, you know,
I get you, yeah.
like you kind of, you got to be careful. It's not dangerous. Like it's not difficult, but you got to be careful. So he's kind of
Mhm.
like, oh, just come around this ledge. Be careful with this and that. And so he says something like, we had some small talk, and then he says something like, oh, can I ask where you're from? Again, like small talk. And I just say, oh, Los Angeles, you know? And then he says like, oh, we're from, man, I forgot, but it's not here. He is like a state nearby, like really
Mhm.
close nearby. And then it kind of goes quiet for a bit because it was just small talk. And then he said something. I'm sorry, like for the story, but I genuinely can't remember how he said it. My girlfriend probably remembers, but he said something along the lines of like, oh, before I heard you guys talk, I didn't think you spoke English.
That's crazy.
Which
bro.
at first I kind of was like, huh? Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, it hadn't registered really, right?
Yeah.
You hadn't processed.
right. So I know to people watching, they're like, so like whatever, like, you know.
Mhm.
But then he proceeds and he's like, he's more directing it towards my girlfriend, right? Or he's like, all right, and I thought you were gonna say you were Colombian because of your long hair, like talk because she braids her hair a lot.
Yeah.
And he was saying like, oh, I thought you were gonna say like you were Colombian, and I remember when he said that. The reason I told you guys about how the way people are dressed, I thought he was talking about hiking gear. And you guys might be like, Brandon, what are you talking about? But you
Like
know
the
how there's
Columbia,
the
yeah.
Columbia brand?
Mhm.
My girlfriend was wearing Columbia boots. And so I genuinely thought he was making like a dad joke, like being like, oh, you guys are overdressed. Like,
I
you
get
guys
you.
must not be from
Yeah.
around here, you know, like kind of making like a hiking joke. So I really, like, genuinely, I know everybody's like, what? How could you not? Like, I'm sorry. I don't deal with
No,
that.
I
So
get you. I get you.
so I genuinely thought he was making like a hiking joke. And so it took me forever to register because I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? I didn't even fake laugh. I was just like, I don't know what this guy means, you know?
Yeah.
But then my girlfriend like interjected and she was like, yeah, I get that a lot. Like this and that. And she's more trying to like kind of diffuse the situation. Like, yeah, I get that a lot. Kind of trying to get like the conversation over and like to get him out of there. And when she started doing that, it started to register. Like I was like, oh, he's saying like, he's like asking us what race we are. Cause that's what he was like, oh, do you speak English? Are you Colombian? This and that. And that's when it started to register to me. And,
That's where the mood and the tone shifted,
the mood,
right?
no, but it really started to shift when, cause it felt like an eternity. Cause I get it. Maybe people who are watching experience this more, but around here, I really don't deal with this kind of stuff. So this was really my first time genuinely dealing with that. So it took me forever to register. And then again, like while as she was saying, like, oh, I get that a lot. He was like, there's kind of like this lull in the conversation where he kind of going like, oh. And, like, he stopped talking. And, like, right as I was kind of slowly putting things together, he goes, oh, so you guys are, like, Mexican-Americans? And that's when it clicked with me of, like, well, obviously, right? And I remember me and my girlfriend had this, like, unspoken, like, is this going to go the way we think it's going to go?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I can't do it here. Like, I don't know how to act it out.
Yeah.
But he didn't say it like that. He was emphasizing the American part, like being like, but like you guys are Mexican Americans though, right? Like you like kind of being like
That's crazy.
like if the American part wasn't there would have been a problem.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And well, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, because I'm like,
yeah.
well, because it could mean a couple of things. I was thinking like, oh, you guys are Mexican American,
Yeah.
as in saying like, what when he asked you what you guys were, he was kind of maybe a little annoyed. You guys just didn't say you were American, because have you ever heard of a little side
go ahead,
note?
go ahead.
I think his name's Sean Strickland. I think
Yeah.
his name's-
Have
you heard?
Omega?
Yeah, he's super on Twitter. He always says shit like, I hate that people wave like the Mexican flag in the States. Where if you're so proud of Mexico, go back to Mexico. You're an American.
Jeez.
It's giving kind of that tone where
Oh,
I
I
think
get you.
it was a little bit of an annoyance from him
Yeah.
to hear that you guys weren't just straight up like
Well,
American.
yeah.
At least that could be one theory.
Yeah, well, I guess it was a lot of things because we never even said we were like Mexican. Like we didn't say that. I just said Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
and I proceeded to just after I said Los Angeles, it was basically me trying to figure out what he meant. And I know I'm telling you guys, like, I get it. Like, in retrospect, like, I get what he meant, but I really don't deal with that. So it genuinely was like, what is this guy saying? Like, I just was genuinely confused. It was to me as if like some random guy was like on the street rambling to me, and I was like, are you like, what are you saying?
Yeah.
And then it was my girlfriend proceeding to be like, yeah, I get that all the time. But we never overtly were like, we're Mexican Americans.
Mm-hmm.
He just kind of, I guess, was like Los Angeles.
And he's like, oh, you guys are Mexican American.
Yeah. And
like, oh, like you guys are Mexican American, right?
yeah.
As in American.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
legally
hard.
here.
It's
right?
really hard. Oh, I didn't even think of that. It's really hard to explain. And that's, I think, the frustrating part to me is because as someone who doesn't really deal with that, I feel like the part that to emphasize that is I genuinely thought he was talking about hiking gear. So the fact that my mind did this like mental gymnastics to be like, he's obviously talking about like hiking gear instead of like him racially profiling us shows how little I deal with this. So that's why I was very like just caught off. I just didn't know what he was saying. I don't know. It was really weird. It's hard to explain because there's kind of like not so much like a threat, but like an eerie vibe,
Yeah.
like a Get Out like type vibe.
There's this intensity there.
There's like this sudden like tone switch of like, oh,
like you feel there's this sudden tension in the air.
Yeah, which was really weird. And going back to like how I was explaining where we were, it's like hunting. People go there to like hunt, and if you look at like a lot of the signs, there's bullet holes in the signs, and that just, I mean, people just pull over to like shoot at them. But we noticed that, and we're like, oh, so everybody like carries out here, right? And we're also in the middle of the nowhere. We have no service. We're outnumbered 3-2. We're in the dangerous area. You know, that kind of started rushing into our minds. So we were kind of like, oh, that's why when we kind of had this unspoken, like, is this gonna go the way we think it's gonna go, or this guy has a serious problem with us? It was I don't know, it was just wild. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, because I think at least in Los Angeles, if somebody is racist, it's more of a very subtle or sneak diss or they hide their tracks, because obviously a racist is never gonna be like upfront about how racist they are. Yeah. But for people who live in isolation, like I imagine Utah, I'm sure it's not all like that, but some towns are for sure isolated from POCs. Yeah. And I think when you're isolated away from POCs, stuff like social media or media itself, especially if it's like an older guy, you get very manipulated to thinking like, you know, POCs are a certain way. Yeah. And if you don't like confront them or press them, they may pose a danger to you. A very racist way of thinking.
I guess too, it's like, it's weird because like he was also, I don't know. I guess the reason I'm having a difficult time talking about this is not because like it's a difficult subject matter. It's just I don't deal with that out here. Like I just don't deal with that out here. I'm sure you have because you're far more POC presenting than I am. But you kind of had to be there, and that's something that I know that some people are gonna see this and be like, "So what, bro? Like, what do you?" But you had to like be like, I don't know. Like if you were there, you would understand, and you have probably experienced that, so you obviously understand what I'm talking about. But there was just this sudden dangerous air of like, damn, is this guy like gonna do something to us? And then I don't know. I guess for me it was just weird because it's like we were minding our own business. We were on the other side of a mountain, just hanging out, and this guy kind of went out of his way to ask what race we were, and kind of emphasized that it's important that we're American. And that's what kind of stood out to me, as I was like, we're just minding our own business. We're in the middle of nowhere. We're trying to keep to ourselves. We went in there with that state of mind of like, we'll just keep to ourselves. We know people hate tourists. We know this, and that. So we were kind of just minding our business. So I don't know. It's just kind of weird because it's not like we were in the town or like we were, you know, we were in like a public attraction and pretty far away from the guy, honestly. We were like 50, 60 feet away, and he was yelling up a mountain, hey, what race are you guys? Which is wild. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's what pisses me off and makes me a little mad. Yeah. Because I think about that a lot of people who grew up in the city and have never experienced point blank racism, it's so easy for them to make the connection that it's because it doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. But I think that it's because we're so coddled and in our own dome in the inner city that we don't really deal with it on the regular basis. And you forget how once you leave the city, you're very different than most of America. Most of America is white and most of America is racist. Yeah. It's just the truth. It's the way it is. It's people are ignorant. And I think for you, you probably always had this perception that you were white passing, and I'm sure people have probably told you.
I think for me, it's just more like out here I'm white passing. Well, because I was talking to my dad, because my dad's a lot more brown than I am. And he was saying like, yeah, out here you're white passing, but over there they could smell it on you, you know. Which I'm not like, I don't know. I guess it's just a weird like thing.
I think it's true.
And no, I don't mean that. I just mean like it's a weird experience. I'm not saying like it's a harder experience or anything. That I'm just
I know.
relaying to people that it's a weird experience.
Your experience is your experience.
No, yeah, to go from like whatever, like, you know, and then to go from like kind of this hostile, like, what are you kind of doing here type thing, you know. And it was so weird because the guy was kind of saying it in like this is why I said it had Get Out vibes, where he was saying it in like this guy's being racist, but he's saying it in like a way where it's like it's threatening, but he's saying it in like a way where he feels like he's being friendly too, where like he knows what he like. I don't know how to explain it. Like,
you do mean it could be worse, or like
like he felt what he was saying was the correct thing to say in that situation. Like it wasn't like it wasn't like this like, oh, I'm pressing these kids. It wasn't like this like, oh, like let's, you know. It was just more like, it felt like what he was saying was like, no, this is what you say to people who are like that. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, it's so hard to relay it like secondhand, because there's so much about it that doesn't translate on a transcript. Like you really had to be there to get this, like, because he's throwing a vibe at us. Like, you know, he was kind of being like it's so hard to explain, you know.
I in the way I've kind of understand it, it seems as though wherever he's from, this is just how you talk to POCs. This is the regular experience.
Yeah.
So he can't even see any way that he's talking to you is wrong.
Yeah. You
like,
get what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's so hard because people are like, what? So you're saying he's being friendly but threatening? And I'm like, I know. Like it sounds. I think that's the frustrating part, is like on a transcript or relayed secondhand, it doesn't quite have the same potency that it had there.
But I get you, and I think your feelings are valid.
No, for sure.
Because a lot of stuff like that is invisible to the eye. Like even when you speak about white privilege, and people get up in arms when you speak about white privilege, but that's a lot of things that white privilege is basically invisible. It's hard to see unless you're on the other side of it. If you're a white person, obviously, you know, especially if you grew up poor, you're like, what privilege? I grew up poor. But white privilege comes in all the small things that you don't notice.
I guess I've never experienced feeling unsafe in that way. I've been in a lot of situations where I felt unsafe, but never in that way, which was very much like, I'm kind of scared of the folk around here.
That's like, funny because that's funny. You came back to the hood and you were like, thank God I'm safe.
I don't know. I guess because everybody carries out there. It's just hunting land. Like it's all like, you're out of your element, and there's nobody for miles that really looks like you, or like. And I was wearing like a Rams like beanie, so it kind of emphasized that I was out of town.
Well, I think it reminds me a lot of the OJ show. I always bring it up. I don't know why. I think there's a lot of bars in it, and I think there's a lot of perspective that is described very well in that show. And one of the things that well, not Johnny Cochran, but the guy who was defending the victims of OJ, who OJ murdered. Sorry, I mean, if OJ, whoever murdered those people, he's like he's talking about Furman, which is the racist LAPD cop that was in that case, and he says that he's a black man, and he interviews him to see if he's okay to go up in the stand during the trial to see if there's any complications with his like racist history. And he interviews him, and he's like, well, Furman said all the right things, and he was completely nice to me, and he was super cool, but I still don't think he should go on the stand. And the reason why is because when people are racist and they speak to you as a person of color, they speak to you in a certain way where they're trying to be too nice, and they don't understand what's wrong with them because they think they're saying all the right things. Yeah. And that's the attitude that they kind of bring. But you don't get it if you're obviously on the other side of it, if you're someone who's white. Yeah. But if you're someone who's a person of color, you feel it. Yeah. You feel the inauthenticity.
Yeah. No, for sure, bro. You make a really good point. I guess it was so layered for me because, I mean, obviously, a big portion of it was directed towards my girlfriend, who's far more presenting than I am. Yeah. And like, I'll never understand her experience in so many ways, right? Because I'm just, I'm a man. I have far lighter skin. But I mean, she was talking to me after about how, like, I hope she's okay with me talking about this, but I think she is. She was just saying, like, oh, she felt like, thank God I was there, because if it was just her, she felt like it would have really gone ugly. Like, cause I don't know, like, and like,
No, I think that's true.
and I completely agree, and I think that's another thing to kind of wrap my mind around. I don't know, man, it's just so layered. And then like afterwards, we left, right, and we started looking up the city that we were staying in. To preface this, we didn't stay in the town that we were staying in because we wanted to stay there. It was just the closest town to
where you guys were traveling.
To where we guys were traveling. Like we in essence had to stay there. Like the nearest big city was, I think, Salt Lake, and that was another 500 miles, like another 4-hour drive. So like I can't, like I genuinely, like I had no option but to stay there. So it's not like they're like, well, you shouldn't stay. Like, I mean, like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, and when we left, we started looking up the area that we were staying in, and bro, a lot of wild stuff.
A lot of like hate crimes and stuff.
Not hate crimes, just a lot of like unfortunate activity. Like there's this one.
Whoa. Like what?
There's this town, St. Georgetown. That's not where we stayed, but it's the next town over. And there's this case of very recently, this woman sexually harassed this girl. I think because she said that her skirt was too high, so she grabbed her skirt and pulled it down on her. And was like, you're being this, and you can look it up on TikTok. Like it's not like I'm making this up. She like grabbed her and pulled. And then the town that we were staying in, there's like a Walmart, maybe like a 15-minute drive away. There's like this little outlet, and there is a bunch of high school kids who were putting on blackface and running around in the Walmart. Like, so it goes to show you that there's it's not exactly the most. It's not LA.
Sane.
It's not LA. I'll just say that,
LA's not that sane either.
Yeah, but it's not
insane. Well, no, that's not true either.
Well, I guess there's just a bit, like, I know LA's got its problems, but it's a big distance, I guess.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm speaking.
Well, there's this like element, at least based off those two stories, there's a correlation of tradition. Like that's like very white America.
I think for me, it was, when we looked it up, it was just very affirming of like, okay, so we're not tripping, right? Like that is the vibe of the town. Like, like people are not exactly super friendly towards people of color.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. Fucking wild experience.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on a little bit how you were saying, like, I know some people are going to watch it. This is true. Like, people in our own culture can hear your story and probably be like, it's not that big of a deal, or, you're probably just thinking too into it. But I feel like the people who don't think too into it are the ones who are doing a bigger disservice to our community. Yeah. Because I think that you just make that behavior acceptable. Yeah. And I think nothing ever changes if you don't. I guess
to me, it's just very much like, I've been in a lot of dangerous situations. A lot of situations where people actually did want to hurt me. Not because of the color of my skin or because they felt that I was a foreigner, but I've been in a fight or two, Mm-hmm. And so it's not like I've never experienced hostility from another human being. I know what that looks like, bro. Like, I know that. And so when people are, that's why I'm kind of like, I know if you read the transcript, like he just was saying that, it's like, if you take those words, sure, it doesn't quite seem that, but you had to be there and catch the vibe of him being like, we kind of have a problem. But the fact that you're American, I'm kind of cool with it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I also think context plays an important role, too, because I think knowing you and, like, growing up with you, you're the one who's the first to be, like, doing too much or, like, nah, bullshit. Yeah. Or, like, you're very, not cynical, but you're...
I'm pretty passive.
Yeah. So I think for me, just seeing your reaction, even you telling the story, I can tell that it hits, like, a certain chord. Yeah. It's probably 8. No, I'm just kidding. I could tell that it hits, like... I can tell that it hits like different. I just hear it in your voice and your inflection, and especially having known you, you're not somebody who's very quick to like
overreact.
Yeah, overreact. So the fact that you feel that, I think, is very it goes for your case that something did feel off, and probably something was off.
No, yeah, and then like, I mean, I think maybe like if you kept going down that road, it's because there's so much involving setting and like the vibe of the area, which like, I mean, there's bullet holes on the signs. This guy's kind of implying that he doesn't fuck with people of color. And then down the road was like, I think, public land where people do go to hunt. Like, so it's not like I'm making that shit up where like people are like, people have guns there, bro. And that's why I'm kind of like, it's not like here where seeing people have a gun is kind of a little bit more taboo now, where it's like, not everybody around here is as strapped as they make it out to seem, but people over there are strapped. because they're hunting. They have, big guns to go. So with that context in mind and him kind of throwing that like passive aggressive, like microaggression at us, I'm kind of like, that's how me and my girlfriend were like, is this going to go the way we think it's going to go? Like,
what would you have done? What would you have been like if let's say he became less passive and more actively aggressive?
well, I think me and my girlfriend, I mean, props to her. I feel like that's kind of like, I think I'm the lucky one, because I think she's dealt with it more.
Mm-hmm.
She caught it immediately, and she immediately went to kind of like, oh yeah, I get that a lot. Like, yeah, bro, sure, yeah, you're right, bro. Like let's get this conversation on the road.
Yeah,
instead of like
smart.
That's why I'm like, that was
very
genius,
smart,
because imagine it went the other way where it's like, yeah, I'm fucking what, bro? And then he pulls a gun on us or some shit like that. That's why I'm kind of like, I think we just got really lucky, in the sense of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was just you guys. Well, because I can't help but imagine a lot of what ifs. Like, what if you had gone with like the homies and they were all POCs, or like, what if you were the woman and your girl was the dude?
Yeah.
Like, would it have been different? Would he have pressed you more? Because if you were the more POC looking,
Yeah.
like, would that have been different? Which I think, honestly, probably. And I don't know. It is a super spooky, I think, scary situation.
And I guess too, it was very much like I spoke earlier about some people. It's not so much that people give you like a threatening like energy, but they gave you like a double take of like not so much a welcoming one, not so much a get the fuck out of here one, but like a,
you're not from here.
yeah, And then after that, I think what stuck with me was like, because we know how I mentioned, like, it seemed as though that was in his mind the friendly and correct thing to say. I was kind of stuck with the so that's what the friendly ones look like. Imagine we met with one who wasn't so friendly, who genuinely does have a huge problem. I'm not saying that makes his any better.
Yeah.
But I mean, situationally, what if we ran into somebody who for real had a problem?
You're like, oh, this is the nice.
Yeah, this is the nice version. Like this is the nice version. They still kind of threaten you. That's why I think afterwards, because
gotta get out of here.
Well, because what also stuck with us is the area. The scenery is beautiful. I know, like, the scenery is beautiful. Like, like the
land itself,
the state, the land. It's a gorgeous area, and in the brochures is like, oh, you have to stay past sunset, and you have to watch the sunset, and you have to look at the stars. And we went there with that in mind, like, oh, maybe. But after that, we were like, nah, let's get the fuck out of here.
That's scary.
Like, we don't want to
dude.
stay out.
Yeah.
We don't want to stay out late, which I think also sucks because it kind of robs you a little bit of the experience of like, hey man, we want to enjoy the area too. Like
you guys can't help how you guys were born.
Yeah, and to kind of after that we were very much like, maybe we should just kind of stick to drive-in food, like drive-through food. We don't want to kind of sit down and like, I don't know, not taunt anybody, but like open up that experience. And we were also like, let's just pass before sundown, just be in the hotel.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things that bothers me about white privilege, and less bothers, more bums me out, is that I think since I was a kid, before I really became aware of the social settings, I had always dreamt of doing like cross country around like the country. And then as I got older, I realized like, oh wait, I don't think that's particularly safe. Obviously there's a layer of like non-racial bias that makes it unsafe. But there's a lot of layers of racial bias that make it unsafe too. Yeah,
for sure. I think it's wild too, because it's like, I don't know. Once you have that like glasses, like that perspective shift. Another thing too, the whole time we left California, we didn't see a single police officer. And I'm not saying that would have made me feel safe that there was police officer, but we didn't see a single cop the entire time we drove across 3 states, because we had to go through Nevada, Arizona, and Utah. And it's a 6-7 hour drive. Not one cop until literally the border of California. We saw a cop, and I'm not saying that to be like, oh, the cops would have made me feel safe. No, if anything, it made me feel even more unsafe in the sense of like, well, it say something did go down. It's not like there's anybody here to fucking to do something about it. There's not going to be anybody looking for us because we don't. So it's just a lot of I think that's too a lot of unnerving settings about it. And then I was like, well,
I think it's because the townspeople take it into their own hands.
Probably. Right?
And what's justified for them might not be justified for you.
Yeah. It's also a lot of farmland out there. A lot of
A lot of dead bodies out there.
so?
A lot of missing people out there.
maybe.
And on it, maybe. Who knows? Maybe, bro.
Man. But but like I think one of the things that was interesting is that near the dinosaur tracks they have these ancient Native American carvings. Like and it was supposed to be something about it's basically the archaeologists, I think that's the people who study, or like saying like, oh, what we think it translates to is the Native Americans would pass through and they would say, is this their way of saying like, oh, we were here and this and that. But near they're called petroglyphs. The petroglyphs, there was also another carving from the 1800s by white settlers. Wow. And it was this really interesting like subsection of being like, when does it become history and when is it vandalism? Because they were kind of saying like the people passing through were kind of vandalizing it, but also being like, haha, we're the same. It's really interesting because like, whoa, it's a fascinating area, like because they kind of carve in a like, we were here too, haha type shit. And the archaeologists give their like, so like, when is it? They were talking about like it's this moral dilemma of like, when is it history, when is it vandalism? So I don't know.
That's kind of a cool tidbit to hit on. Yeah, so. That's kind of cool. Well, bro, I'm glad you're back.
Yeah,
I'm
glad
you enjoyed it. Was it still a good trip?
Yeah, it was a good trip. But I mean, I guess any tips for people of color traveling?
Just be more.
I'm sure you're far. I'm sure there's a lot of you who are far more presenting than I am. I'd say if you really like can try to stay in like a resort
and stay strapped,
or like a big city. These small towns, man, they're not. I wouldn't say they're the safest places, So be careful out there.
But the Utah Jazz is out there.
In Salt Lake, big city.
Oh, so that's a big city?
I think so.
Oh, there you go then.
I think that's the biggest city there.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, what a new perspective to kind of like have now,
for
bro.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And does it make you appreciate the Angelino community more?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I guess for me, it was just very like, there's a lot to unpack about that I'm
we do a whole pod about it.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, there's a lot about here that I do appreciate now.
Oh, that's good, dude. Yeah. At least there's that.
Yeah.
Moving on a little bit. The second topic that I brought for everybody was, have you ever heard of homogenized identity?
I have not.
So the easiest example of homogenized identity is Latino.
Yeah.
Latina.
Yeah.
So you know how they bunch us all up, even though we're very different. Mexican, Guatemalan, Salvadorian, Colombian, Puerto Rican, right? All these things. So what homogenized identity basically is that whenever people described a certain group of people, they just bunched them all together. And the biggest example I can think of is Latinos. And how, like, whenever Trump is like, we got to get all these Mexicans out, sometimes he's talking about, like, Central Americans that aren't even Mexicans. Yeah. Or, like, you see somebody speaking Spanish on the street and they're brown and or they're POCs. Yeah. And you're like, oh, they're obviously Mexicans. That's homogenized identity, where people just mainly think of other Latin Americans as Mexicans. Yeah. And the reason I guess I wanted to talk about it is because, well, I guess speaking of my girlfriend, she's not Mexican like I'm Mexican. She's Guatemalan. Yeah. Cool. She's my Chapin princess.
Is that?
I think that's what that's like. I should probably search that.
That's not a slur, right?
No. She said, well, I hope not. I guess so. If it is, we'll bleep it out. Yeah. But yeah, she's a Chapin. Yeah. Which means basically she's Guatemalan American. And I asked her, like, when you grew up, did you ever feel like there wasn't enough representation of Guatemalans like out there? And like, how did that make you feel? Because personally, when I was a kid, I actually really felt it. Like, that's why I'll never fully believe when people are like, oh, you don't need a representation, like that's dumb, you can just relate to like Goku or something. For sure. And that's true that's true to an extent. Yeah. But I think that when I was a kid, I did actually feel like I wish I had something that I could like sink my teeth into, like when it's Halloween or like it's time for me to like choose my identity in a video game. Very rarely did I ever feel like I was represented as like a brown skinned Mexican. Yeah. And if I felt that way, I can't imagine what other people in Latin America felt. Yeah. And I brought it up because I think a lot of people often do that, and I even do that. And I think it's my guilty conscience taking me over as to why I want to talk about this. Is it's called homogenized identity. is that you basically erase all other Latin American identities and just make the main one Mexican, because it's the one that's obviously popular here in the United States.
That's
And
yeah.
and unfortunately, like, through no fault of our own, it happens a lot. Like, and that's why in recent memory, when people talk about Latinos, they try to use that word Latinx, but then got a big backlash for
Yeah.
using that one. And I guess I bring it up because I never thought of that. I never thought about what it must be like to not only be a minority and be like of Latin American descent and still have your identity erased by Mexicans.
For sure.
Like, I guess it touched me because I do that. Like, I genuinely do that. Like, I do that when I speak on topics, and it bothers me because I can't believe that, like, our own people would oppress, like, people who are so similar to us. And I know we don't do it consciously. It's just the way that we live our life here in the United States. But I don't know. It kind of hurts me. It irks me because I know what it's like to feel like that, to feel like your identity is constantly being erased. And I think it should be made more aware. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but I think you could easily, like, pick out signs, right? You could think about it growing up and think about how many times somebody was like, oh, like, are you Mexican? Like, oh, this is such a Mexican thing. And it's like, well, there's like a whole other country of Latin America, which is its own problem as to why, like, I always had trouble with the word Latino, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not so familiar with the word or the words. I'm familiar with the concept. I talked about it a little bit when I talked about the model minority myth, where it talks about how, like, that happens with the Asian community too, is everybody gets lumped into, like, oh, well, you're all just Chinese, you know? I think it happens a lot more than people want to give it credit to across a lot of cultures. But I think it comes from a lot of I think you touched on it, a lot of political heads will be like, well, they won't, you know what I mean? Like you said, that was a really good example of, like, we got to get these Mexicans out of here. And then he's obviously referring to people who are not Mexican. Yeah. So I think it seeing all of that in, like, culture on the news and stuff like that, I think and to a degree sometimes becomes impossible to kind of not adopt that because it's just in your face so much. So yeah.
I get you. Yeah, it just sucks, man. Because I have this. I told you, right, the joke of, like, growing up, I thought everybody was Mexican who wasn't, like, black, brown, or Asian, and I think what bothers me is that it's become so much of a joke in our community, like in our specific cultural community. It becomes a joke of, like, oh my God, like, you're Mexican. Have you ever heard that thing about how people get offended by being called Salvadorian if you're Mexican?
No, I've heard it the other way around.
Oh, Salvadorians. Oh, that's true.
Not
too.
Specifically Salvadorians, but people of other Central American countries being called Mexican, which I understand.
Yeah, I get you.
It,
Yeah, I just think it's important to bring up because as somebody who is Mexican, it's super easy to erase Latino identity and just homogenize everybody. Yeah. So I just wanted to bring it up. I don't have too much to say really about that.
No, for sure. But no, you're right. I think that's why representation is important because otherwise people aren't exposed to these cultures. Yeah. Well, because people don't even know that the word Latino is new. It hasn't even been around for 100 years, and it was only created by the government for census purposes. Yeah. So we can all be lumped together. No, yeah, I mean, the same thing with the model minority myth where people get lumped in together, and that's why I forget. I have the info in the back of my mind, so I might be butchering it. Where because they get lumped in, like all these cultures get lumped in together, it fails to see that there's certain issues or contributions that are individual to these certain areas or cultural people. So
that's true too. Yeah, because I'm sure there's specific there's specific issues that certain communities have to deal with that maybe the main Mexican one doesn't have to deal with, and then
because it gets lumped into Latino, it's like, oh, you guys all do that,
yeah.
So it's I completely understand why.
Yeah. I just want to bring it up because I was like, shout out to my girl. She put me on. I was like, you know what? That does suck. Let me talk about it a little bit. Yeah. Although I need a fellow Chapin in here. Yeah. I really hope that's not a slur. Because I have to censor it. She's the one who said it.
Well, I mean, I feel like if anyone's allowed.
Okay. But moving on to our third topic for this podcast. Yeah. The Digital Gauntlet Brandon, break it down for
You
me.
mean-
What is the digital gauntlet?
You mean digital guillotine?
Guillotine.
Gauntlet,
Yeah.
like the Infinity Gauntlet.
My bad. The digital guillotine. What is the digital guillotine?
So I don't know if you've seen recently, but there's been this big movement online calling for people to block en masse celebrities and people with big platforms and influential, just influence
Yeah.
over the masses, to block them if they haven't been vocal about what's going on in Palestine. People like Kim Kardashian, big names,
Yeah.
and it's been relatively effective, from what I've seen.
Really? What are the effects?
So a lot of the people who are because I think Kim Kardashian. This is just to illustrate the amount she lost, like fucking 5 million followers in like a day.
Wow.
And so essentially, I think the aim is to if you guys aren't gonna use your platform properly, then we're gonna take away your platform. So I kind of fuck with that.
That is very smart.
So I think it's more right now. It's hitting harder to the slightly smaller people. Where I don't know her name. You've probably seen her a lot. She's like this blonde girl. She makes a lot of like funny Vine stuff. I'll show you her after, but I forget her name. She was very vocal previously about not wanting to talk about it and being like, I don't understand why I need to talk about it. And the second she started getting blocked, she started talking about it. So I think that's what's going on. It is working. Like, people are being more vocal about it, and then it's just working. Like, because I guess it's hitting them where it hurts more, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, social media and the internet is all about attention, and if you rob them of your attention, then they're gonna be losing, their money, their what is it called? Relevancy, revenue, relevancy. But I just like. I wonder what the direct effect of blocking like people is.
What do you mean?
What do you think? Like,
I guess to me, it goes back to what they kind of said originally was, if you're not going to use your platform responsibly, then we're going to take away your platform. Which I like that. I think that's cool.
That's very smart.
And I think But what was your question? I'm sorry.
I guess I'm like trying to fully like understand the concept, because I feel like there's like something for me that's missing about like blocking everybody. Because I think. I think about a few years back, I used to be very against, and I used to advocate for not blocking people, because I always felt like blocking people only makes those people surrounded by more like-minded individuals. And I think of that. I think of people who aren't supporting the cause and are getting blocked by everybody who does. Well, I don't know. I guess you could argue that maybe they'll just never change. But I wonder if like...
I guess for me, it is that they are changing. Like, a lot of people who are getting blocked. I wish I could show you
the stats.
Well, yeah, I guess the stats. But I've seen like video compilations of like comparing what certain influencers were saying before, being like, I don't see why I have to talk about it, like this, and that. And the second their followers dip, they're like, I just want to take this time to talk about, and then it's like, I guess to me, it's supposed to be like, I don't know. It's their way of raising awareness. It's supposed to hold people accountable for what they do with their platform.
That's something new, though. That's very something new that, because I know people talk about cancel cultures, but outright blocking and encouraging people to block them, and then like kind of just like putting them on blast.
I guess to me, the reason I also like it is like, why would I support a creator that I just genuinely fundamentally don't agree with? Like, why would I give them my money and attention? I don't want to. And it's not, to me, I think I like it more because it's not like this. It's not like, you can't really say it's anything. It's not them harassing or going on there and being like, do this. This is just like, well, I don't like you. I don't like what you do. I don't like what you talk about, and I don't like that you don't talk about certain things. So goodbye, And that's why I'm kind of like, I fuck with that. And I think another thing somebody brought up was, it shows you how easy it actually was for them to talk about it. It was just they felt that it was going to hurt their money. And when it did hurt their money, they're like that, it was just very much like, it just shows you that it was very much what do you call it? Like a marketing or financial. It was
financial
a financial decision,
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Well, it's just crazy to me because I wonder how much money you got to be making to like not speak up about like human atrocity. Like, specifically when it comes to the switch up, like I think that's what blows my mind a lot more. Is the switch up? Yeah, the switch up is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
because I'm like, why would you Why would you wait until it's too late to like? Well, first of all, it all goes to fundamental. Fundamentally, you should have talked about it not because of like views or anybody was telling you. You should have talked about it because it was
It's the
something
right
that
thing to
genuinely,
do,
yeah. Not only is the right thing, I mean, like it deserves attention. And if you have a platform to spread that information, then you should use it because that's the greatest and most powerful tool that you have as someone who creates. But I think it's interesting to then switch up after you get the backlash, because I'm like, why? You know, people know you don't. You're just saying this to save your career.
Yeah.
So like, why is the switch up even happening? Because like, nobody's gonna believe you.
Well, I think that's also an interesting part about this is a lot of people say that when they do switch up, they still block them because it's like, oh, so then you just care about the money. Like you don't actually, I think people are, it's also a way of getting people to expose themselves of like what they actually care about, which is like, well, I don't really care about representing shit. I just kind of want your money, which is, I think, interesting too, because I saw there's also there's a bunch of celebrities. You know, Lizzo, she also got, remember?
She got on the blacklist?
Yeah, because she didn't talk about it, but she did this like huge lie where she's like, celebrities don't have as much power as you think they do. Like she started trying to be like, nah, like I don't like tripping this and that. And everybody was like, huh? Because then people proceeded to stitch her with the Taylor Swift effect when Taylor Swift told people to vote and it was like record breaking voter registration. So
that's, celebrities have a lot of power. Yeah, she's tripping.
Yeah, so it's obviously not true. Yeah, like, why she's saying that. You know,
she's tripping, bro.
But actually, I forgot an important deal. This started because of the Met Gala.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I heard about that
because I think they announced it's like $75,000 for a ticket, and one of the I don't know who she is. I'm not super into celebrities like that, but she said something like "let them eat cake."
Yeah, as a joke.
People found that really insulting.
Yeah.
Which understandable.
How are you that stupid?
Yeah,
to say that. Yeah. Because historically, historically that's not a real thing, but that's like what Marie Antoinette might as well have said. So
I think this goes deep because
it does.
Because it's also a lot of things. A lot of celebrities in the Met Gala are also on the blacklist, like Zendaya and all those people. Because I think people found it, and I think reasonably so, kind of upsetting that it costs more for one ticket than most people make in a year. And I think a lot of people are upset about the wealth inequality gap too. That's why I'm like, it's a very layered, like, do you call it a boycott? It is a boycott,
It's
right?
a layered uproar.
It's a layered protest. I think it's kind of a protest. And, it goes across Palestine. It talks about, like, I think it touches on a lot of things, which I like it. I think it's really cool.
Well, because I think it's very effective because the only reason celebrities and people who are public figures even get to have that much power is because of the attention that they garner. Yeah. And if you take that away from them, then you take away everything from them. Yeah. And so I think it's one of the few cases that I've seen in recent memory where people use the internet for the right thing. Yeah. Like, genuinely, I think it's kind of mind-blowing, and I think my mind is kind of having trouble wrapping around it, because it's actually having an effect. When for a lot of years, I feel like any like internet like protesting always was kind of a little ineffective. Yeah. While this one seems to be very cutthroat and also very active and also very much like power to the people.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Right?
I think I don't know. I think I really like that it shows that people in mass do have power. Like, because you hit them where it hurts. They obviously care a lot about their image, their branding, how well they're perceived. I mean, a lot of these celebrities have fucking, PR teams dedicated to seeing how they can be perceived to people. Yeah. And
Gen Z, bro. Yeah. Gen Z is different.
Which I know. I really like this protest.
Because that one's kind of insane.
I guess I've seen a lot of protests and a lot of, like you said, a lot of online activism that I haven't seen one as effective as this one, and I really like it. You know,
yeah. It especially because it probably does affect the small time creators more.
Yeah, I mean, some of the creators, I feel like they're not small. It's just compared to Kim Kardashian, they're small. Yeah. The girl's name, I think her name is like Brittany. She has blonde hair.
I think I know who you're talking about. I think it came up on my For You page, and she's famous for something else too.
She's got that like meme where she's like that, like, it's like, I don't know.
I'm telling you, I think
she's kind of like a meme. She's like a meme queen type
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think she's actually pretty famous, right?
Yeah, she's pretty. Yeah. She's got a podcast.
Yeah,
she did like a collab with Cody Co.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I think I think
yeah.
I know. I
But
think I know
she's
who you're talking
one
about.
of the bigger ones that I guess they called her out because she has this whole video of her being like, I just don't get why I need to talk about it. And afterwards, she's like, hey guys, I just want to take a minute to talk about something that I find really important.
It's because I think it's a couple reasons why people don't talk about it. Because I mean, we talked about it off camera about how like a lot of Latino influencers and no, I'm not gonna call anybody, but a lot of Latino influencers in the scene don't talk about it either. And we're like one of the few that I know of that actually do. There's other people that do definitely do.
Well,
And I well no
go ahead.
go ahead.
Okay. I
Uh,
just
go ahead. Go ahead.
I just think that I don't know. I think the main reason people don't talk about it is they're afraid of losing their influence and money.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that this is the biggest piece of proof because the switch up is because they want their influence and money back, you know? And I think that's a shame because it's like, well, I feel like the bare minimum you can do is at least just talk about it, have some sort of discourse, raise awareness in any way that you can. That to me feels like just bare minimum. And a lot of these people would not risk even slightly losing a little bit of money or even slightly losing a little bit of attention. Because when we talked about it, we lost a lot of followers, which I don't give a fuck. I don't want you as a follower anyways. And I think to me, it's like, and it's ironic because then because of that, they ended up losing all their hubris was their downfall, you know?
Yeah. It's because it reminds me of like kind of like Vietnam, like era of like the United States where there was people who were adamantly against the Vietnam War, and at least I never learned about people who were pro Vietnam War
Yeah.
in America because it seemed like it was one of the biggest things that people were opposed. But I imagine to me, people who don't speak out about Palestine is the equivalent of somebody who was alive during the Vietnam War and being like, "What do you mean? Let's have this war."
Yeah.
You know, like to me, I think that the biggest tragedy is that it's just ignorance and ego.
Yeah.
Like it's not fear for me. I don't think all these people are not talking about it because they're afraid. I think it's ignorance and ego. I think people don't want to be told what to do, and because of that, they become resentful and they become ignorant and don't educate themselves. Because if you are literally just anybody with a fucking brain and you educate yourself on what's happening in Palestine, you would know that it's not this crazy take to be
Yeah.
against what's happening over there.
It's
It's not this like super like controversial thing. It's pretty point blank a genocide that's happening out
Yeah,
there.
then they just showed that there's concentration camps there now.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and I don't get, I don't know. I don't get why people are like, you hit the nail on the head. It's not this controversial, like, ooh, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like a lot of these aren't either, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
You're completely right. It probably is just hubris and, like, what'd you say? Ignorance and,
It's ignorance and ego. It's ignorance and ego.
I
Those
agree.
are the two biggest factors. I think
I
it
agree.
has less about fear. Because at
I
this point,
agree.
it's not about being afraid.
I agree.
I honestly don't think it's about. I think now the fear is setting in because I was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I haven't talked about
Yeah.
it. But before that, I don't think it was fear
And
why they weren't
I
speaking
think
up.
it sucks because it's like there's so many people who are being vocal about it, man. Like
There is, yeah.
I'm astounded at I'm genuinely astounded at the activism on college campuses.
Oh no.
Did you see
yeah.
people walked out on Jerry Seinfeld's
Yeah,
that I like that.
I've been seeing it.
I like that. I don't know. I just really like how people are changing their attitudes towards celebrities and corporations. This is a side note. This is completely side
So,
note.
yeah.
But I've seen recently people are boycotting Chipotle.
Oh really?
Well,
That's just like no.
because the portions are really small, and
Cause we had enough, bro.
no, and I don't know if you saw people are like go to Chipotle now. They're giving you some heavy scoops but it goes to show you that this kind of shit works.
Yeah.
Like and I think people should participate. Like I feel like blocking people. Like I don't even fucking watch. Like I don't follow Kim Kardashian. But I'll block her. Like that seems like bare minimum activism. Like fuck yeah, I'll join the cause. I think people should join the cause and block people who don't talk about it. I think
I'm telling you, it's literally people's egos who are like, what do you know? Like,
yeah.
how do you know? Like, I remember I saw this dumbass fucking meme that made me mad, but I didn't want to interact with it, so I didn't send it to anybody. I didn't screenshot it or anything.
Yeah.
I just kept scrolling. But it was this meme that I saw on Instagram that's like college students. I couldn't believe it, bro. It was like college students hearing about a conflict on the other side of the planet, and it's the scene from Breaking Bad where it's like, wait a minute. This whole thing,
it's about me.
yeah. And I thought it was such a fucking dumbass meme because like, do people really think that like college students are doing that to get attention and because they
Yeah.
want to like they're super self-centered?
Yeah.
Like I like how's that like? I'm telling you, it's ignorance. Like
Yeah.
like learn about the issue. Learn
Yeah.
about like what's going on over there. It's
Yeah.
not about you. It's not anything self-centered. It's point blank. Like it's almost black and white.
Genocide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like and these are the same people where if they were alive during World War II, they'd be like, "Come on, guys, the Germans,
Yeah.
come on."
Come on.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna
No.
speak up against the Germans.
Yeah,
Come on,
you know, like
they make those cool cars.
Hitler was on Time magazine. He was. He actually was.
Yeah.
But
It's the equivalent of that. Like, it's the equivalent of like if you were alive during that point. Even people in Germany who did do that in history, who were like they knew of what their country was doing to that group of people, and yet people were still like, no. I'm sure it's like a misunderstanding.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
I think it's the equivalent of that. And now we look back on those people and we're like, how could you guys let this happen?
Yeah, perfectly said. I feel like that's something that always, what's the word, baffles me with a lot of these movements is people, when you look back at history, whether it's the civil rights movement, the Holocaust, or a lot of these atrocities in human history, everybody always has the most to say of like, I just don't understand how this could have been allowed. Like, nobody spoke up. Like, if I was there, I would have done this. And right now is living proof that no, you fucking wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Because you don't do shit. And all these people are like, dude, you know what I saw? Unfortunately, at our alma mater at Fullerton, there's like this, I don't know, I think Fullerton has like this subreddit.
Oh, it's Reddit. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
I think I saw it.
Where this guy was, and it was getting a lot of upvotes, where he was saying, leave that protest shit out of the commencements. Being
Fucking
like,
OC, bro. It's because it's down
Yeah,
there. Everybody's
yeah.
fucking
yeah, you know,
dumb as fuck.
it's unfortunate, man. Like, I don't know, that's just horrible.
Like, I'm telling you, like, if people just educated themselves more, I guarantee you, people, anything pastime comes up in their timeline, they skip over it.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, or maybe just the internet has done such a good job at like
Well,
desensitizing and demeaning lives.
I think it's also people saying they get what's the word? My girlfriend educated me on this. It's called something fatigue, like activism fatigue or cause fatigue, something like that, where people will be like, oh my God, I feel like I gotta support so many things, this and that. You know, I feel like a lot of people say that. But I guess
that's an interesting one.
I forgot what it's called, so I apologize. But I don't know. I just think it's wild that, like you said, bro, if you do the bare minimum and just turn on TikTok and just you don't even have to be like, you don't have to have somebody sit down. Like, you don't have to have a professor sit down. You can just look at the video clips, and it's like, it's horrendous what's going on there. And I also hate because I also saw it on that Reddit post where the guy was like, both sides have their point. This and that. It's so uninspired and such fence riding pussy shit to be like, oh, well, you know, I'm sure the other side has their reasons to commit a genocide. You know, like, why would you say that? I don't know.
I get you. The only reason, and I also think that if you're, I gotta watch my words carefully, but I think that if you're not saying stuff, I feel like you're also giving into the United States manipulating you, because I think that because the United States has an allyship with Israel, it's done a very good job of somehow making people feel afraid to speak out against them, even if it's subconsciously.
Yeah.
I think it's because we're friends with them. I know the average American probably doesn't know that much about Israel, but in media, or at least in our like TVs or phones or anything, there's these subtle ways that make you like relate to them because they're the closest to our Western civilization.
Yeah.
And so I think subconsciously people are very colonialized, like their minds are colonized in the sense that they don't want to speak up against it. Like, I think they're just being manipulated by the government to not say anything.
Yeah, I don't get why people ride so hard for the United States. Like, I don't get why the country's supposed to do what you say. Like, I really don't get that. Like,
not the other way around, right?
Across any issue that exists in the United States. And this isn't even like a super huge political take, even though it kind of sounds like it. I don't get it. Like the one that always gets me is like when people are like, oh, well, we want free healthcare in college and like this and that. People are like, well, you just want handouts. Like, yeah, they're supposed, like, that's what you pay taxes. They're supposed to. What the fuck else are you paying taxes for? Like, that's why I'm like, I don't get when people are like, oh, well, everybody's just entitled and they want handouts. Like, I mean,
You just want the government to work for you.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it's for?
You just want the politicians to do what you say. Yeah, like that's what I'm supposed to. Are they not? Like I don't know. Did we go to a different orientation or something? Like
You just want the government to serve the people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's why I'm like, I really don't get why everybody's so caught up in it. Like, I never understood that.
Well, I'm telling you, it's counterintuitive because it's gonna reach a breaking point, and I see it in what you said, the
sure.
Chipotle and the blocking list. Like, I think the way that the world is run now is people are getting very frustrated, and it's only been amplified by COVID that happened a few years ago. And this is a very interesting decade. The 2020s are hitting hard, bro. They're hitting very hard.
Yeah,
We're at the perfect age for it though, because I think we can do a large part, and you guys can do a large part too. Anybody listening, I'm sure all our followers are super cool. I'm sure they.
I hope so.
I
think so.
The hate comments are coming in droves.
I feel like we've talked about enough things where we would weed out the wackos, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Probably.
Right?
Probably. I don't know. If you're a wacko, comment down below.
Well, let's see.
If you're still listening.
If you're a racist, if you support genocide, if you're homophobic, if you're transphobic, jinx, if you hate women, if you're a misogynist, don't follow us.
And if you're not funny.
I don't know. I guess that's a hot take, bro. I guess that's a hot take.
You're not welcome to here.
Yeah, you're not welcome here.
That is you
not
may
cool.
be welcome to in other.
That is
that's so everything's cool
except that. Yeah, everything's cool except that.
That's so good.
We should write that.
Everything's cool except these things.
Yeah.
It's funny because I don't. So I feel like there's be genuinely people who are like, come on, guys, that limits your podcast.
You guys don't want racists to follow you?
You guys don't want a racist guest on here? I guess, like, for debate purposes, I guess I could kind of understand that. Come on, bro, it's entertainment.
I don't want to.
You don't think you could debate a racist?
I feel like, to me, I forgot who said it, but I kind of thought this was a good point, where he said that, like, he feels that sometimes people who are on the right side of history, they spend so much time debating fucking morons that it, in a weird way, gives validity to those outrageous, like, takes. Where, like, I think the example he used was, like, oh, like, so-and-so, they're turning on the TVs and they're manipulating their children. Maybe that's a bad example, but, like, he was saying, like, the fact that we spend so much time trying to be like, no, that's not true. It weirdly gives them, like, it platforms them, like, you know? It gives them room to talk.
Yeah.
You know? And that's why I feel like in some cases there's certain subjects where I'm like, I just don't even want to platform that fucking idiot.
I kind of agree. And you see it in the smallest example I can give you is when creators reply to comments that, like, are insulting them. Like, I was like, I wouldn't have seen that comment if you didn't reply to them, if I'm being honest.
Or like I think a great example is the flat earth shit. Where I feel like so many people are like, no, the earth's not flat. It's like, yeah, bro, I fucking know these people are fucking morons. Like, they probably inhaled too much asbestos or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, so don't even give them the platform.
Yeah.
You know?
It's physics, bro. It's simple physics. It's the rules of the universe. Every action requires a reaction. So it's true. If you don't give energy, it won't get a reaction.
Yeah, it works.
It's paradoxical, but it works.
It's paradoxical, but it works.
All right, well, moving on. We were gonna talk about the kicker.
Oh yeah, speaking of, I mean, I feel like this is an insane segue, but I mean, football is pretty big right now because of Taylor Swift. There it goes to show you that fucking celebrities have power. But the kicker of the Chiefs, his name is shit. I had it in my notes. I had too much drawings on here. His name.
What happens when you doodle too much?
His name is Harrison Butker. Harrison Butlicker.
There you go.
Thank you.
There you go. Nice.
He was giving a commencement speech at Benedictine College.
That sounds more like Benedict
College.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Nice.
Thank you.
Where basically he goes on this insane rant where he covers like 6 different topics. The most insane ones where he talks about you could probably clip it if you make a reel out of this, where he talks about how, like, he says, oh, like, I know a lot of women in the audience are gonna be told, like, some insane lies, and he's like, I know you guys are gonna be told that you're gonna go on to achieve some great things, this and that, but the greatest thing you're ever gonna achieve is being a wife and a mother. And then he's like, I encourage you guys to start families and get married and this and that. already an insane beginning.
And then, what an insane way to start a speech.
Yeah, and then he continues and he covers like everything that's relevant right now. He covers like COVID, and he throws a lot of disses at Joe Biden, which fine, I guess, but but not for the genocide stuff. He throws disses at him being like, and we have political morons who create environments that have what do they call it when they say the nuclear family, this and that disrupt the values of
traditional family.
No, he says something like we have a leader who proudly calls himself a Catholic but supports the murder of babies. And he's basically saying that he doesn't agree with pro-choice, and he even says that he's like, I don't know how you can be pro-choice and a Catholic. And so he goes on to that. He then goes on to say something about he ends it off on this insane bar. He's like you guys should be filled with pride. And I'm not talking about the sinful pride that has an entire month dedicated to it. And that's when the entire crowd audibly goes, whoa. Because it's almost not even about the commencement at that point. He's not even talking about the graduation.
Bro's tweaking.
Yeah, Homelander type speech, bro.
He's crashing out.
Yeah, he was crashing out. I don't know. That's wild.
Brandon showed it to me right before we started recording, and my jaw was on the floor.
Yeah.
Well, who was he? Who is he?
He's the kicker for the Chiefs, like their kicker.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Chiefs, like the one that Taylor Swift's boyfriend is on?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Harrison Butker.
Buttlicker.
Yeah.
Good one. Damn, what the fuck? Yeah. I feel like I can't even I feel like rebuttaling it is almost too self-explanatory because I'm like, it's obviously what he's saying is wrong.
And to me, I think it was wild because I was expecting it to be more subtle, but no, he starts crashing
Come on,
out.
bro. He's a footballer. He doesn't know how to fucking write.
Yeah.
He's probably got the brain of a fucking peanut.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just insane. What an insane rant to go on. To hijack a commencement speech and start being like, come on, guys.
How is this going to encourage me to like...
Bro, that last bar was insane. And I'm not talking about that sinful pride, the one that has an entire month dedicated to it.
The gasps are insane.
The gasps go, whoa. Well, everybody was saying, I think so too. Why didn't they cut his mic?
I don't think they have I don't think they're like a TV show where they can cut mic.
I think I'm not aware. I don't know every college. Sorry. Benedictine college sounds like a little bit of maybe a Christian college and the same that Notre Dame kind of sound, because Benedict, like Benedictine.
Yeah, it could be.
Maybe I could be wrong. But maybe they're kind of like, nah, you spit.
But so the whole audience is like,
nah, I don't think the audience was because younger people tend to be a lot more like progressive. So I genuinely, I think at first a lot of the stuff can kind of fly under the radar until he made that pride comment because that's when everybody was like, whoa.
I just felt like if you're a speaker at a commencement, you're supposed to encourage the students for a greater life. I didn't get the whole women thing, like, because I guess to me, I just think that's all bullshit. Like, I think that's like the traditional values and like starting a family. It's like, bro, like, that's so subjective.
Well,
like, why is that?
I guess for me, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on, bro? When did everybody genuinely become so homophobic and racist? And like, I mean, I guess they were always like this, but this is like at a public like college speech, I think is just insane.
I think there was just a lot of inner fighting that's like been happening in this decade.
Yeah.
I think it's been boiling over. I think it has to do a lot with starting all the way from when Obama got elected as president. Some people say it started in 9/11 happened.
You think so? Why?
Yeah, because that's when the xenophobia really kicked in. And then so there was a lot of oppression on POCs. And so when they kicked back, there was this illusion of like, let's elect President Obama. He'll fix all the POC problems. And then there was this like weird delusional idea that now that we had a black president, all POC problems are kumbaya and we're all like, they're all done. We fixed everything. America's perfect. But really, it just became all those people who are racist, homophobic, were against that.
You know what I saw recently?
What's up?
You know, I don't know if you've ever seen this. If you've traveled outside of the country, obviously a few times, right? You've been to
A few
France.
times. I've been to France and Mexico.
And do you know how they have travel advisories
Mhm.
like to certain countries? I saw this creator talk about like the travel advisory between Germany and the United States, and apparently, she was saying that there's a travel advisory from the United States being like, oh, if you go to Germany, be aware that they're very tolerant of LGBT community. Kind of like
Yeah.
and then yeah, she was just highlighting a lot, and then that Germany has a bunch for the United States where they talk about how like breastfeeding in public is pretty dangerous over there. Don't do that, because I guess they were saying that in Germany they're pretty obviously pretty lax about it, which I don't know. I think it's just pretty wild.
I think it's pretty fair to say that I think the United States right now, for travel advisories, like if you're coming from outside the country, I think it's pretty valid to be like, there's a big culture war going on in the United States.
I think it's for sure a dangerous area if you're a person of color or you're in the LGBT community. I mean, that fucking guy was literally like, he called it like a satanic sinful pride to be, I don't know, wild.
It's, wow. A religious man spreading hate? Never thought I'd see the day.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Yeah. I mean,
I remember just watching them. I almost said, I don't even know what to say.
honestly, me too. I'm kind of just shocked.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just shocked. I mean, because I honestly feel like everything he said is the, like, regular schmegular, like, racist, homophobic, conservative ideology, and I'm not going to,
I guess to me, I'm just more like, they're getting a lot more out loud about it. They sure are, man. They're sure getting a lot more out loud about it.
I think it's always been that way.
You think so?
I'm telling you, because in the 1950s, it was the norm. And I think that when the civil rights movement happened, obviously there was a lot more voices of people who were like, fuck the tradition.
I was watching on TikTok. You know who Judy Garland is? She's an old actress. She's Dorothy. And,
oh, okay.
They were just showing her and this other famous actor from the... He's the man who puts on Yellowface. He's the
I know
in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and they're just showing. I don't even remember what the point of it was, but it was jaw dropping. Because Judy Garland infamously did blackface too.
Oh really? I didn't even know that.
They did a comedy movie together where they're both in blackface. And Jesus Christ, man,
it's rough.
It's rough. I mean, it's never not rough, but fucking Christ, man. I guess I don't know.
We'll probably watch that. I think that'd be too much for YouTube.
No,
so
for sure.
We'll probably watch that after the show.
No, yeah. I don't know. I guess you're right. It's probably always been like this, but fuck.
It's been like this, but I think it got amplified when Trump became president and he had that slogan, "Make America Great Again."
And he boldened everybody to.
Yeah, he really made everybody. Well, because our own president was saying that, so obviously all the regular people were like, "Wait, he can be openly racist, homophobic, and sexist and be president,
get famous and be
so
president."
I can do that. Yeah. Me as a regular schmegular guy, I could probably do it.
Yeah.
Bro, I think he might be president again.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think he might be president again. We'll see at the debate.
Well,
they're gonna debate on next month.
He's gonna fucking eat Biden alive.
Biden can't talk, man.
I haven't seen that fucking old fart talk normally in ages.
That dino
bro. Being president must be fucking
rough,
torture. I mean, he was always old, but he could at least talk when he first was running. Now he's just very like,
I don't know what happens. Did they drain your life force or some shit?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm telling you, bro. Maybe you see and learn some like very mentally weighing things. I think what Michelle Obama said, where it's like, what did they just tell you that made you go quiet? Like, I don't know. They discovered fucking the earth is going to explode in 100 years or some shit. So he's like, what's the point of being president? I don't know.
Yeah. I won't dive too deep into that. But Bumble AI.
I guess, yeah. Right?
Our last topic for this week.
Speaking of dystopias.
Yeah. The CEO of Bumble said that she sees the future of dating is that a persona that has fully adopted all your characteristics, an AI of yourself, you may call, will go on dates with other AIs. So that way, your AI can find the perfect match for you. She said that's the future of dating. She said that's her perfect world, where an AI of yourself goes on hundreds of dates and finds you your perfect match. Is that dope or a nope?
Nope.
A nope? Why do you think that's a nope?
I don't know.
Let's say obviously we're both in relationships, so it's kind of.
Can you hijack it? Can't you just be like, oh, I'm super caring and I'm very progressive and I do all these things? I don't know.
I just think that there's specific characteristics that are only found in humans that aren't found in AIs. I think AIs can be a good imitation, but
I don't know. I'm a bit of a doomer when it comes to this kind of stuff, so maybe I'm biased, but I genuinely feel like the more and more I see coming out of AI, the more I'm like, I feel like this isn't good. And I don't know, man. I feel like there's just a lot going on with it that I'm kind of like, eh.
we need like a new golden period. Like they talk about it in the past that like.
Did you know, fun fact, I didn't know about this spot either, but to nerd out real quick, you saw Dune 2, right? We saw it together.
Yeah, Dune 2 is really good.
Did you know that apparently there's lore that the reason there's no AI in that future is because there was an AI revolution and there's a war against AI.
So that's like they don't have AI in them?
Yeah, that's why in the first movie they have that guy who like rolls his eyes to the back of his
It's
head.
like a human computer?
Yeah, that's why they have those, because they don't trust AI in that universe.
Really? That is kind of cool.
Yeah, right?
You think it's going to be like that for us? You're going to get rid of AI at one point?
I don't think AI is gonna turn evil. Like I don't think I get it.
I think evil's a human concept.
I don't think it's gonna be like the T100 or T1000. I think if we want it to be, it can. But I don't think it's gonna be like. I don't think it'll ever get to a point where it chooses to do that on its own. I think it's only gonna be programmed what we want it to do, and I feel like the people who have control over it don't have our best interests at heart. So obviously they're gonna, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in how fast it's going and all the things I've seen it do, all I've really I've seen it demonstrate is how to, like, I don't know, disrupt and control people and take away, you know? I mean, there are some cool things. I mean, like I saw that the new ChatGPT can translate in live real time. Like they show it, like this guy's speaking in Spanish and the AI translates it.
I saw that, yeah.
And it doesn't do it like the Google Translate. It like actually like conversationally translate it.
And it's their voice too, right?
And then I also saw this one where it's like, I think it's Google, where they showed that AI is going to be in the phone. So like if you get a scam call, it'll give you alert. So they demonstrated where they use it on a live scam call, and the scam call is like, oh, let me just transfer your money. And then it gives you an alert. And it's like, a real bank will never make you do that. And so shit like that is cool. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, fuck it. Nigga,
I get you, yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, I don't know about that.
I wonder what world we'll live in when it's like, how'd your parents meet? And it's like, oh, they're AI and met. My mom's AI. Yeah. And they had cyber sex. and then they were like, oh my God, we're going to create the greatest child ever. Do you think like, well, because I wonder where eugenics starts to play like a factor in that. Because like, I wonder if they'll be like, this is your perfect breeding partner.
I love this picture. Have you ever seen this picture? It's like, I think it's called like The Last Cowboy, or it's like this picture in 1899 of this cowboy standing on the last part of the frontier that hasn't been.
The Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, and I think it's a really cool picture. It's kind of deep because it's saying like, oh, this was before like we had the industrial, like the 1900s and all these things. I sometimes feel that way with a lot of this stuff. I feel like
you're the last cowboy.
No. I just more feel like this stuff is gonna pass me by, and it's gonna pass a lot of us by. I feel like everybody can be like, oh no, not me. But I think for the most part, that's just how it works. It passes everybody by eventually, you know? Yeah. And I just never seen anything at this speed, man. Like I remember when the iPhones came out, and every time they came out, there was something cooler, like, you know, but never this fucking fast, man. And I don't think we can keep up.
Yeah, well, it's in our lifetime. I think about all the time about. I mean, your dad's older than mine, but even my parents who were young, like when they were kids, when they were my age, they were probably like. See, my dad was born in '65. When he was like 25, he was 1990. There wasn't even the smartphone out. And in my lifetime, I was born in '98. There's fucking AI, virtual reality. There's fucking like. Well, AI. I just can't.
Did I send you that one where it's like these headphones that were translating what the person was saying? And like they was just listening to them. Yeah. Bro, you think the fucking military doesn't have that shit?
Gonna go to Mars.
I don't know.
Well, I hope it all goes well. I think everything will be cool.
You think? Yeah.
Yeah, I think everything's gonna be okay, bro. I think we're you know what really lifted my spirits? The digital guillotine.
You think so?
I think we're gonna figure it out. We're just gonna have to go through some rough shit.
Yeah,
I think we'll figure it out, bro.
Sure.
We'll figure it out, bro. We'll be okay.
Nah, I don't agree.
It'll all be okay.
No, I don't agree.
It'll all be okay, guys.
No, I don't agree.
I promise
It
you.
won't
Don't
be.
worry.
It won't be.
It'll be okay.
It won't be.
I promise you.
It won't be.
But
I promise you it won't be. No, I'm just kidding.
but that's our
we're
entire
done with,
show.
we're done with the episode?
Yeah, we're pretty much done with the episode. We've been yapping for a good minute.
No, we haven't, because we started. We were yapping. For those of you who don't know, we warm up a little, so we were yapping. This is about
30 minutes.
This is like an hour 30. I haven't been yapping that much.
No, we haven't. But do you have one more topic?
No, but I feel like we can't end it like that.
Oh, let's talk about something positive.
Let's see. What's been happening that's positive?
I love how beautiful nature looks. I love the glimmer.
Oh, did you hear that they're gonna restore the Los Angeles River?
Oh, really?
You didn't see it?
No, I didn't see it.
This guy never watches anything I send him. It's
I'm busy.
you know that train, the empty like train. What do you call it? The train graveyard.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
They're taking out a lot of the concrete and the I think from around here to all the way to downtown, from Griffith Park to downtown, around here. They're taking out the concrete and they're putting in the natural wildlife and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're trying to add in new rail stations like all over the country in the United States.
Yeah.
To finally like actually make people more connected.
Yeah.
So you see, bro.
I guess so. Yeah.
I think we're gonna be okay. I think we're just going through the rough patch. I mean, like
this is our character development point.
Yeah, this is our character arc. This is our our redemption arc. America's redemption arc.
If this is crazy now, what do you think they're gonna have when we're like 100?
Probably it's like.
Do you think they're gonna ever have like a world killer weapon
that can just like kill a world in one? That's scary. That's kind of scary. That give me chills. I hope not.
Cause I'm like, when did they drop the nuclear bomb?
It was
1945, right?
Yeah.
And so we didn't have those. Do you think we're gonna have something where it's like, oh laser, shit. Like because you know in that movie in history, they talk about how like when they detonated the bomb, they thought it was gonna ignite the entire atmosphere. Mm-hmm. Do you think we'll ever have something like, nah, if for real can't do that?
Probably. I think so. We could do that.
That's a shame.
I think that we humans.
Why would we invent that? I feel like we have like we all live on the world, man.
Because I think we're petty. Or like
if I can have this, nobody can.
Yeah, and just blow it up and then
that's insane.
It reminds me of Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, the second movie where they blow up the Earth at the end.
Do they?
You've never heard of that?
Oh yeah, no, because Charlton Heston, the guy who he made them do that.
Yeah.
What do you think actors do that? Because Harrison Ford was like that, where they hate the franchises they're in so much that they tear it down. Because remember, Harrison Ford only said he'd be in Star Wars if they murdered
it's ego,
Solo, and then Charlton Heston was like, "I'll be in the second one, but if you end it completely."
It's a bit of pretentiousness.
I think he felt like he was too good to be in that monkey movie.
I think that actors are, because it is an artistic career. I think they see themselves as artists, and I think artists are clinically conflicted and always like depressed. So I think there's this layer of like.
Because I think about that. Like let's say one day I left the podcast. We got LeBron on, and I retired, and then after like of a long time, you were like, "Okay, will you come back?" And I was like, "I'll come back." But
to die,
or the fucking podcast, and the podcast has to die with me.
Like that would be the last episode.
Wouldn't you be like, man, why can't you just?
That's what I'm saying. It's
pretend.
I'd be like, it's not that serious.
Yeah, wouldn't you just be like, then just don't come back, man? Like that. Like I don't know.
Like, oh, I get you. That's what I mean. It's pretentious because, like, bro, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
I guess, yeah, because I guess to me it feels very like holding them hostage. Of like, you want me back? Pay me like $100 million and also ruin the franchise. Like, okay, and they always say yeah. They're always like, I'm okay.
I guess that shows you how much power how much stardom they actually have.
How much power celebrities have, bro. How much?
It all connects. It all always comes back.
I don't know. I'm just fucking around. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, it was really chill. It was just me and Brandon.
It was chill. We hope we were just kidding around with a lot of stuff, except for the serious stuff. We mean that.
Yeah. Everything that you felt offended, we were kidding, and everything that you liked, we were being serious about.
Exactly. Well said. Well said. But before we go, I got to give a shout out to our lovely patrons. Shout out to UL. Shout out to Jay Chicano. Shout out to Angel Zamaron. Shout out to Sarah without an H. Shout out to Carlos. Shout out to Steven Carbajal. And shout out to Carla Corazon. Your patronage is always appreciated. And if anybody wants to join the Patreon, our link is always in the bio. We hope everybody watching enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
See ya.